Hello, and welcome to the third part of our semester where we are going to be looking at qualitative inquiry, mixed methods research, and evaluation. The first of these three is qualitative inquiry. We are going to go back to those ologies at the beginning of this semester, as painful as that might be for some folks. We're going to go back to the ologies, specifically the paradigm of constructivist thinking. We recently finished our entire unit on quantitative inquiry, which is what you all just had an exam on, and we were working within the post-positivist framework there, that paradigm. In that paradigm, we're looking for things that are measurable, we're looking for statistics, we're looking for things that are quantifiable. We're looking for things, patterns that we can generalize to a larger population, usually through our sampling techniques like random sampling, random selection. In qualitative inquiry, we're kind of moving away from that assumption of perfect objectivity, from that assumption of being able to control for all the variables, as we did in the last unit in quantitative. In qualitative, we're more interested in looking at something in the natural environment. We're interested in people's experiences as they have lived those experiences. So we're not going to be focused on trying to really pinpoint and quantify someone's experience. We're more interested in getting the depth of that experience. And so qualitative is going to fall within that constructivist paradigm. Within that constructivist paradigm, we're looking at the idea that people's experiences of the world are constructed by doing things. Our knowledge, our understanding of how things work is created by experience, by doing. You know what it feels like to drive, and you can tell me what it feels like to drive a car because you have driven a car. You can tell me what it feels like to be lonely if you skipped out on a school dance, for example. All of these types of things, by living through them, we can understand them. I can know loneliness through that experience, or I could know happiness through some other type of experience because I have lived it, not because some numbers numerically, quantifiably told me so. Likewise, the concept of loneliness and the concept of happiness, for example, those are incredibly difficult things to try to quantify, right? Many of you may have found that while we were talking about operationalization in the last module, that there was a lot of content that was kind of difficult to understand in terms of trying to develop a scale for it. And even those scales that we do have, whereas they're useful, they're not perfect. So what qualitative inquiry does is really kind of acknowledging this idea that these measurements are not perfect, that experience helps us understand the world, and that by collecting people's experiences through interviews and observations and all these different methods we're going to talk about, we're able to understand the world, and we're able to understand maybe something about a particular phenomenon. Our trade-off on that is that because we're using a small group of people and we're collecting a lot of information from those people, we don't want to say that it is generalizable to everybody, like we were trying to do with our quantifiable studies, our quantitative studies. What we want to say is, here is the spectrum of experience. Here's all the different types of experiences that people have. Here are all the particular ways of living this particular experience that we're looking to study. Oftentimes in qualitative research, we will do something called purposeful sampling as opposed to random sampling and random selection that we did in the previous module. Purposeful sampling is selecting with a purpose. So I'm looking for a particular group of people who can best speak to the topic that I'm looking for. So if I want to know what it's like to lose weight in a obesity reduction program, I want to talk to somebody who's been through it, and not just been through it for 20 minutes. I want to talk to somebody who's been through it for an extended period of time. I want to make sure that I get people who are the best people to speak to that experience. Do their experiences reflect every single experience that's out there? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know for sure because I didn't do random sampling. You'll also find that we have much smaller samples in qualitative research. And I'm going to do a video later that talks about the difference between those two. But as we move forward, what I want you to think about is, remember that qualitative is in the constructivist paradigm. So we're looking at how knowledge is constructed through experience, through the lived experience. We're going to use smaller samples. Our goal is not to generalize, but to capture the spectrum of experiences. And what we're going to use instead of an instrument, as we do in quantitative research, is we're going to use the individual. I'm going to do another video. Well, actually, you know what? We're going to get into it right now. The researcher as instrument. In qualitative research, you are the tool by which your participant is measured and assessed. What we talk about in quantitative research is a little bit different. You are the participant observer in naturalistic inquiry. So I'm going to have a few other videos that are going to break this down a little bit further, but this is kind of the overarching definition of what we're doing in qualitative research that shows how it's different from quantitative. So keep these three terms in mind: that you are the tool, the instrument of data collection and analysis, you are a participant observer, and you are conducting these traditionally in naturalistic inquiry. And in the next video, we'll break these down a little bit further. If you have any questions at this point, let me know. If not, feel free to move on to our next video.